You are listening to Accents, a radio show for literature, art, and culture. I'm your host, Katerina Stoikova, and my guest today is poet and artist Nana Lampton. Hi, Nana. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Katerina. So wonderful to see your face again.
So wonderful to see your face and so wonderful to spend time with you again and talk about another book. Let me introduce you to our listeners with a few biographical notes. Nana Lampton is an author of several poetry collections, most recently The Turtle with Seven Eyes from Larkspur Press. She has an M.A. in English from the University of Virginia and an M.F.A. in writing from Spalding University. She serves on several boards, including Berea College, Yaddo, and KET. She is a chair of Hardscuffle, Inc. She is the author of 4 other poetry collections. So the start of the hour is your latest book, The Turtle with Seven Eyes. Please introduce it to our listeners.
Well, I'm not hearing exactly what you said, but to introduce what? What did you say?
Oh, to introduce the latest book, please.
Oh,
Tell
good.
us
I
about
would
yes.
love to. Well, one day I was walking in the woods and there was a wonderful tortoise walking through the steep oak woods, and that turtle was joining with another turtle, a female turtle, and he had walked all the way. I thought, how did they find each other in the middle of a great oak woods? And this drive of the, the mysterious drive of all of us, whether we're turtles or humans, is just amazing. And I do think after all these years with watching animals and seeing and hearing that they know more than we do. They see better. So that's the turtle has 7 eyes. We've got 2. That turtle sees a lot, and so I've kind of used his viewpoint.
7 eyes are a lot of hours to see with, and the number 7 is a very special number. I
Yes.
can come up with a few um, symbologies. What do you want to share? A few of yours?
Well, the one thing about the turtle is, in some um, philosophies and religions, the turtle holds up the universe, and that would be true because he's solid and he has a roof, and he can hold up the universe. But this the 7 stars of the Pleiades, and 7 means my name in Japanese, Nana. And so there are all kinds of things. You tell me some of yours.
Well, the one that resonates the strongest with me is the 7 directions of the world. The 4 cardinal directions, then above, below, and within.
Yes. And in the mornings, I go out to the promontory above the river and salute the 4 directions and up and down. And it's very fitting because below me is the water that I think carries us on to the end of the beginning. It's the flow that will take us wherever we go as conscious dust, I think. But it's there's the river, and then the light that comes between the leaves is the light that we like to have within to be able to see with. And then there's the earth that has this its own ways, regardless of how much we punish it or regard it highly. And then, the rock is underneath me, beautiful rock. And then the flights from the north to help us, as the ancients always said, that it's from the north our help comes.
This book features not only turtles, but a lot of other animals. So in order of appearance, turtle, frog, bear, dog, stag, deer, opossum, raccoon, hawk, horses, donkeys, cows, heron, crow, all the way to chickens.
And that's true. And I found an opossum inside the chicken house. That opossum would have eaten a chicken by morning if I'd let him stay it in, but I asked him please to leave, and he did. So,
I think your book is wonderfully
oh,
arranged.
thank you.
Um, can you speak about working on organizing the book the way that you did it?
Yes, I read this book to my good friend Marianne Taylor Hall, and she has such a sense of that one thing leading into the other, and she kind of agreed with what I was trying to do, and I thought, I think I'll read you one poem that that is not exactly about this one thing leading into the other, but it's our current life that is adjacent to all the other lives that are living and breathing around us. And it's about the phone that we search for. So after all of my arguments for solitude, I've spent the day searching for my phone, not just one day, but several, looking under pillows and coat pockets in the firewood stack, the connector gone dead. Friends at bay as if I'm a fox barking from his den to tell them to stay away. All the ancestors in their separate plane above the river hope I will be silent for a while so they can show me stars in daylight. The deer look up and talk to me. Raccoon sees me from the branches. The hawk says, stay still to figure me out. Let's work on another kind of communication. They all ask me to. You're getting older. Take time for taking yourself to a different country just beside where you live. I hope you could understand that.
Wonderful, beautiful. I had put it down to ask you to read this one. So it's wonderful to start with this poem. It's about connection, and it's about the tension between what, who, how many do I connect with? And you are able to connect with the natural world. You have a very special connection, personal connection with it. Could you speak a little bit to that?
It's because I live alone and in solitude, except for when farm workers come and things like that, and friends come to visit. But essentially, I live alone and live in the night alone and live in the dawn, the pre dawn. And I watch these friends who live in harmony with me, and we all live together in the same land. It's a very chosen thing. And I'm afraid, as I was just saying to you before, that it doesn't relate to many people who live in apartments and on concrete and who have to go out in the morning to take the dog and maybe see some of it, but they don't feel enveloped by it. What I'm hoping to do is show how it feels to be enveloped, to be surrounded, to be part of the breath of it, because it's so easy to be separated from this, from everything that would go on if we weren't here.
Yes, and we would live with the sense that we're missing something and we wouldn't be clear what is it exactly.
Yes,
And
we
we
wouldn't
wouldn't,
know.
yeah, we wouldn't know how to find our way back to it. But in your book, I can see that this connection between you and the natural world has never been broken. In fact, it becomes so strong, and I can definitely feel the sense of oneness and also the sense of peace and acceptance, whatever happens. So the book starts with the animals and then progresses the relationship with animals, the relationships between animals, and then progresses with to the relationship with the self.
Yes.
The self with to one's own mortality, and then the plants around us.
On the path above the river where you've walked, I
Mhm.
have buried all my favorite horses, and they all are there. I speak to them as I pass. and then proceed up to the deer territory because they don't like being disturbed and have to leap up and get out of my way. Then a pair of eagles has come across the river. All
Wow.
these things, I used to feel their separateness. And as I had told you way in the past, that I would look at a tree and think, I can get to the bark, but I can't go in and be that tree. I want to be the tree. I don't want to be stopped at the bark, at the surface. And what's happened in these unfolding years is a closer relationship to each thing, so that even a certain kind of so-called weed is is now growing at this certain time of year and surrounding me as a friend. It's a lopseed and all kinds of things that I'm learning slowly, learning the names of them, but I know them without the names. So many of us are forgetting names at my age, and it doesn't really matter because I know them well, and I don't have to really label them. It's so strange.
Mm. It, I would love to hear several poems. Read us a selection of poems from the book, please.
All right, I would just love to do that. I mean, I haven't really read yet because we got the COVID the week it came out. So this is called Have You Noticed? Once I was hardened, ears blocked, living in the cave of self, inside that cold stone, getting ready for the bone heap in the dark recess of the damp rock shelter. In the open now, about to paint the birds who flit from branch to seed, catching how they look at me, I see the maple is gazing at me too. When I dissolve into winter drizzle, lifted by night winds, I will be the whisperer in the ear of a seeker, one halted in the crossroads. That is just the, it's like a jump off of the surface. It's like the little tourgette. It's a little bit of a leap. And we don't know how far we can leap. I mean, some people have gone to the moon, but are they going to the moon in their imagination, or can they see all of it together? Um, see how the, well, this seems to be a moment. This is just more description, but it's solitude in snow. I've been alone in snow for about 6 days now. I pay a price for days alone on this farmland. Some would offer burlap bags of bills from Switzerland. Morning sun makes icy pastures breathe like tinsel moving in a light wind. The river fog is sneaking up to cover pear trees on the hill, little branches peeking through. Horses move like toe dancers with snowballs frozen in their heels. They need encouragement to walk, even to their feed. We converse as I lead them to the barn. I invite the hounds in by the fire. It's as if no humans around, so I'm taking that. Uh, this one is Turn Back Birds. The metal crow leans against the glass to warn the birds to turn back to their leafy trees. Do not follow the scarlet tanager. He flew straight into the glass and broke his neck. Moody gods select the beautiful ones to throw against the rocks. Living crow in the low sky watches for opportunity, laughs at my duping him with a simulated relative. Quote, I am the egg eater, berry picker, fooler of the bright birds. I could pick your soul like a holly red fruit. What have you got for me? I am the black robed preacher telling you to watch yourself. I'll take what you have. Eggs incubating your very offspring. Come with me. I'll show you how to break the glass. So that's the spirit of the crows I watch. So is that a stopping place?
Please read us more poems, especially if this is one of your first readings from the book. I would love for you to read. We had The Mother before
Oh,
the
yes, that's
weapons
my
came.
favorite. Okay.
And I would love for you to read about the one about the ice storm.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I have to find. We have The Mother. I'll just take a look here for a second. Um, and here's Ice Storm. I'll read that because it's available, and we've just had one. Ice storm. Ice forms on the stone walls, yet sun warms the fields, the ash floor boards, the back of my chair. The maple tree in the lane twists her trunk as if it were a flamenco skirt. A sudden stomp and she's on to the beat. Daffodil bulbs are planted as deep as I am. When green dominates the month of May, we will all be blooming. For the moment, I've kept a fire going, carrying wood from the snow, suiting up to feed hay to horses, donkey, and cows. Every now and then, I get up to see the birds gathered around the offered seed. And so we'll find, we had The Mother. That's my favorite one because I really believe it. And I can't remember, let's see, 17. So we had The Mother before the weapons came. We had The Mother for millions of years. She minded early blossoms, apples, and almonds, protected children in a season of storms when black winds pursued people and animals across the land. Generally benevolent, she shaped the rounded pears, united man and woman, blessed the maypole adorned with flowers, displayed young beauties dancing in a circle, weaving ribbons in and out from the central tree. When men from mountains rode fast through plantings, they stood in a stirrup, holding the bow steady. Their arrows went straight to the heart. Growers gathered to build a dome for their grain, stood on walls to shoot the attackers, changed everything. They traded the mother for a warlike god. Call the men, glorify the man, give him a fierce countenance. Women were sacrificed. Droughts, winds, thirst, and sorrow drove people from the land. Oh, how the trees mourned, their hidden power ignored as the feminine petrified inside them. From the water source, the mother waits. This happened in Bulgaria. That's when it happened. The last bit is where wheat is clustered thickly on the stem, where light illumines thick grass, she is there. Her fish rise to the hatch. She lies hidden in the undercover, watching all that is. She's gone, but she hasn't gone that far. She's living right around us, and she mothers this earth. And this whole thing happened because of a stirrup and handling a bow and having to defend the grain. And it happened right where you were from. It was the oldest agrarian part in the world.
Amazing.
Isn't it wonderful
Yeah.
that you are from there? You represent her. So let's see. Um,
If I would love to read, I would love to hear these couple poems about mortality. Have you noticed? And Yellow Blanket, if you wouldn't mind.
all right. I would like that. What was the first one you asked for?
Have you noticed? The one with
Oh,
the questions.
I just read that. Yes.
Oh, yeah,
I
okay.
wrote, once I was hardened, ears blocked, living in
Got
the
it.
cave itself. I read that one. So Yellow Blanket. The yellow blanket lies still. I am beneath it. Driving rain on the metal roof doesn't exist under here. Is this like being buried? I ask my mind to be awake. Hear the jays in the tangle of wisteria. They wrangle for seed on the stone. I breathe, but the buck beyond the wall breathes in a huff. He stomps the ground. All this goes on while I'm under here. People in crowds wonder at solitude. Few live alone to feel this particular life, flow into another. I think the book is about trying to imagine what it's like to to pass through this particular life we're in form we're given to the next. And I think what nature has taught me is yes, the form dies very strictly, and it is buried or eaten, and we are buried or eaten. But there's something that that just pervades and continues. And this is the point of not seeing past the bark. If we can't see past our human form to see what consciousness is there, like Philip Pullman so wisely says, that we become actually stardust, we become cosmic dust and conscious cosmic dust. So that, and I was just reading, we're made of some 20, uh, I think it's 26, and it has 26 zeros by it. So
Mm.
we're so full of multiple particles. Those particles are going to join the other particles, and we're all part of the same.
But even before that happens, we can shape shift into the
Yes.
consciousness of another and learn
Yes.
from that communion. And you do teach us about communion with everything and learning from all living things, like the poem Fig.
Yes. And this is something that you can't make come about, as you know, as a poet so well. You can't make it come about. It has to be something that occurs so strongly that you can't not write about it. Do you agree with that?
I absolutely agree with that. Otherwise, it's just an attempt. It's not
Yeah,
actually
just,
doing it.
just a structure on.
Mhm.
So this is fig. I ate a fig at dawn, picked from the top of my fig tree, not yet frosted, rosy purple as the river below. Its cold, sweet flesh arrived intact from summer. Teach me, fig, how to know about ripeness, when to harvest at the fullness of growth. Take the sweetest fruit, love, and tell me the moment both can trust it's right. Too soon and the outer green skin won't give. Too late, mushy to rot, the chance is missed. This thing about timing. Uh, I wonder the timing of our birth. I was born in 1942 when women were dying in terrible concentration camps, and they were literally treated as slaves, and their children were sacrificed. I wonder if I came from there to make a life out of that. In some way, I did, because I came from that time into this time. But it's so strange to know, why are we born now? Why are we living this life when everything is in change? Everything is mixing up. Dictators or leaders, and who follows whom, and who's hungry and who's dying of disease, and why is it now? And what, I don't know what to do about it, other than to say this is this is meaningful, and we're witnesses to it, and we
Well,
have to.
I don't know if there is much that any one of us can do beyond creating a precedent in the universe about a different way of being and living.
Yes.
And that is a lot already, especially if one is a pioneer in that particular way of living and being, and the kind of person you are and the life you lead and what you stand for. That is definitely a precedent. And anybody and everybody who knows you, Nana Lampton, they know. They know who you are.
It's so strange because we don't really know ourselves who we are. And I know you. I know what you're doing. You're bringing meaning out of people's mouths and their written words. Show me the meaning of this, because that's our job on earth. They said to be God's eyes, to be the Spirit's eyes, to be the earth's eyes. We have to observe. We have to know what this thing means. What does it mean to live on rock that's from Devonian time, 350 million years ago? What's it mean that we are joining that so that it's current with us?
in if we backtrack a couple of books back, Bloom on a Split Board, one lovely book of yours. In it, you write a lot of poems about time. You ask a lot of questions about time. And so since then, has your relationship with time changed?
It has, because I'm not living in an urgency. It's very wonderful to have this. I'm so fortunate. I have health, thank goodness, in this time of disease at an older age. And it's such a gift because there's I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to worry about I must have children by the age of 35. I must raise these children. I must get the food for the children. I must earn the money for the children. I feel so grateful to women who are doing that. I am so grateful to them. And I need to be the center of the maypole so they can weave their ribbons around and
Yeah,
dance in a circle the
yeah.
way they did in Bulgaria.
So can you talk a little bit about the visual art in the book?
Yes, the wonderful Joanne Price, who is a wood engraver. And Gray's Eyes has, I think, given her at least one 19th century press, and I know she has three others. This woman has just gone beyond wood engraving. I've tried every year at Gray's Eyes with a small group to do our wood engravings. It's so difficult and it takes so much time. And she came to the farm and she looked at the horses and she took pictures and she tried to understand the whole thing of a dog walking up the road. So she did these beautiful wood engravings, which make the book so rich.
And what about your own visual art? You're a painter yourself.
I'm a painter, and I've been painting one series of kind of the way the earth will look when we're finished up. If there's one turtle alive walking under a very flimsy portal to a tiny bit of green, and the rest of it's all burned up. And then these mountains that they have evolved to just bare columns of of stone in Argentina, where they just stand uh, like people or something. And I did learn from the wonderful Mark Evans that the Appalachians were higher than the Himalayas four times in geological history. Think of how long it took to erode those.
Yeah.
So paintings are kind of trying to talk about what happens when it withers, and then nature will build it back. Will somehow come up with something different, something more adaptable.
And that is the relationship to time again.
Yes,
So you are a traveler. Since I've known you, you've traveled. I think you've been all over the world.
I have not been all over the world, but I've been to some wonderful places full of and often ridden horses through the highlands of Rajasthan and the lowlands of Africa, and I'm just such a gift. I'll never get over that. I'm not. I don't have the endurance I did at the time to do it again, but I do have it in my head, in my memory. It's the same. They're the birds to watch, and they're watching us, and that the sunrise is always just so amazing.
So are you traveling? I mean, you're not traveling now, probably.
I've been in my farm for 1 year, and it has been a wonderful, wonderful year. I have no urgency to leave it.
Hmm.
I think it's the most. It's almost as if I can't get enough of watching it, and a lot of it's wild. So
Well, that was going to be my next question. Do you miss travel? But it's so
I
great to
think
hear that you're content.
you know so much about travel, and you go back to Bulgaria, and you live that ancient European life, and then come back to this rather new, impetuous life here. And I think that's what it's for, is to see, well, how are you doing it, and how do you do your meals, and what tastes do you have, and do you like it? Are you saddened? But here, people are all in uncertainty now. We are threatened. We have dictatorship. We have disease. We have trouble. But when have we not had trouble? We need to work some things out. We need to accept skin color. We need to accept people's different backgrounds, and go on with this, build and,
Well,
and
more toward oneness.
yes, more toward oneness. And that was the remarkable ideology of our country, or if that's the right word, the idea of it was to come together. It'll happen, I think.
I think that right now people seem very divided and polarized. But most of the time that I've lived in the United States, I have felt really readily accepted and embraced by anybody who has met me and talked to me, regardless of my accent and the
Exactly.
fact that I come from someplace else.
And you've been a creative person in the midst. I think that in a way is the answer to your visual arts, that the place we meet is in creativity.
Yes.
It's in trying to make some thing that helps us understand where we are in this melee. And we're trying. We really are. Things have come to a head, and they're bursting and being revealed every place. It's whether it's the planets, or just the way that things build up to a certain level and then they burst. And I sort of think that's what happens now, and that people are being revealed for who they are.
And out of all this, something new will assemble itself, and
Yeah.
undoubtedly it will be better.
And you have your thumb on this pulse, because you're finding the people who are making the great attempt to understand where we are, and what they feel like, and what it's like, what it's doing to their relationships, and how is it with the children, and all the things people write about.
I have my thumb on, I guess, on the writing of the people, I guess, contemporary writing of people
Yeah.
who I communicate with, and uh, I love reading it. And as mm, our mentor Molly Peacock says, uh, there is nothing as exciting as the writing of your peers.
Isn't that great? Wasn't that wonderful of her to understand how deeply we felt we had to do it, and she identified with that. She didn't scorn us for things that were not written as perfectly as they might be, or she didn't scorn, and neither did Sina. Everyone wanted us
To be
to come,
ourselves.
yes, and to come with new ideas. And I was just reading Frank Walker's new book, and he's coming to himself, and
Yeah.
he's
Mm.
fiercely writing.
And what are you writing now after this book is out?
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head with this idea of the arts coming together, that it's all watching the other, no matter how you watch, and how it's trying to see, now what are you telling me now, what is it that you're trying to somehow deliver. And that's the theme, I think. I'm not really sure. You have to
Uh,
make it up.
sounds that you're going further into expanding, seeing how people can live with uh, living in a way as everything is your friend and ally, and someone you can imitate in some way or turn into.
Yes, something that makes this bridging of the abyss easier, because
Mhm.
families are divided, our people in the cities are divided, the politics are divided. Somehow there needs to be this kind of brushy network, the way you find in the mountains where all the briars join and the roses grow out of it. And it's kind of a messy thing, but it joins people together. It's that sort of thinking.
And Nana, I would love for you to read a couple more poems from the book
I'd
before
love.
we end the interview.
Why don't I read The Turtle with Seven Eyes?
Perfect.
What are the visions of your seven eyes, incised on the horn of your carapace, like the eyes of Horus? Do you see stars resplendent in other spheres, a fledgling robin breaking out of his turquoise shell high up in its nest? Can you watch the oak's taproot driving down into ancient earth, deer hooves rapidly galloping before you hear them in the fields? You lift one leg at a time, moving to the woods to meet your destined mate. I saw you there one year. I tread behind you, imagining your wish to see the sky without a permanent roof. All of us creatures want what we can't have. So that's true. Oh, here's the last one for you. Winter storage. My art supplies are in cold storage on the unheated porch. Buried in storage bins, their colors wait for spring light. Brushes and paper, canvas and oils weigh like stone in boxes. Has the angry despot of the state forced art to lie in shambles all apart? Arrogance at the top toppled Russia. As resistance, I pledge to let the invisible rise, the fragile bird, freedom of mind. Trusting that I will let fly imagination tonight, the moon pushes aside the veil covering her beautiful face.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Nana, for coming on Accents and reading from this lovely book, The Turtle with Seven Eyes from Larkspur Press.
And you are so kind to do the interview as you did years before when Jeannie and I were with you. So I thank you profusely, and you must keep writing.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, my dear.